Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a tip for you that is something that's really changed a lot of my fishing during the post-spawn period. Man, it's just I had a total lesson given to me. That's all I'll say. Before I get to it though, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. You know, I have monthly giveaways, and if you subscribe to the channel, you're automatically entered into those giveaways. So it's worth your time if you watch my videos on somewhat of a regular basis to subscribe to the channel, because it gives you a shot at winning some of my sponsored products is really what it comes down to. So, and if you want to support the channel, guys, go to my description, click on the link that takes you to therealshot.com. Great little bait shop in Wisconsin, has a really good selection of baits. Has a lot of stuff right now that you can't find in other tackle shops or other tackle websites. And if you use the code Stefan10, you can get 10% off your order. So you support the local store that supports tournament fishing like you wouldn't believe. And at the same time, you're supporting myself and you're getting a little bit of a discount. So guys, go to therealshot.com description, or it's in my description if you're looking for some tackle. So what is the schooling that I received years ago? Well, I want to say it was 2012, my second year on tour. It may even have been 2011. We went to the Red River in May, towards the end of May, and the fish were very much post-spawn. And I had found one backwater area that I got a handful of bites in practice. And, you know, just to be clear, this was one of those events where if you caught a limit, you were doing something. And when I say a limit, it could have been a 5 or 6 pound limit. Like, I want to say it took, I'm going to say it took 11 or 12 pounds to cash a check for 2 days. So really, really tough tournament. Just, God, it was like 100 degrees every day. The fish just didn't want to bite. It was miserable. And, you know, I had this one backwater area where in practice, I think I shook off like 4 bites. It's a backwater area, real shallow, tons of stumps, you know, like literally a stump like every 15 or 20 feet. I want to say that there were a couple of duck blinds back there. There was some grass along the banks. Like, it looked really good. And it was one of the few areas, it was that area and another area where I had multiple bites in practice. So I spent a lot of time in that area, and I didn't start there the first day. I went into there at the end of the first day, and I think I caught one fish, which at the time, I think I only had one other fish that day. And I went in there, and I think I had that one. I think I missed one. And, you know, there was one other competitor in there, and I believe his name was Clint Brownlee. He does not fish anymore, but he was from Georgia at the time. And when I say he doesn't fish, I mean, he doesn't fish the pro circuit. I'm not sure. I'm sure he probably fishes back home. But so anyway, so we got back that day, and, you know, I think I weighed 3 fish total or something like that. And he had, you know, a decent bag. And you know, again, I didn't really know him. I just knew what boat he was in because he was in a wrap boat, and I had no idea if he was in there all day or whatever. So I started there the second day and went in there and started fishing around, and he was in there, and I'll tell you, you know, I think I caught 1, maybe 2 fish, and I fished that area most of the day. I mean, it was a pretty decent sized area, and he was catching fish every 15 minutes. I mean, he just was putting on a clinic. And you know, I had at the time, I had no idea what he was throwing. I knew it was a topwater bait, but I had no idea what bait it was. It looked so small. He was throwing it on a spinning reel, and I had no idea what it was. He was straight retrieving it back to the boat. And I went through, you know, I flipped it. I threw spinner baits. I threw square bills. I threw a topwater after I saw him catching them on a topwater, and I just didn't catch anything. And meanwhile, I mean, he was culling all day long. And I think he ended up taking, I think he took second in that tournament. He may have finished. Yeah, I'm very certain it was a top 5. Anyway, so, you know, I talked to him a little bit after the day 2, just to find out what he was doing. And you can go back and read the news articles on him, because he did that well, where he was interviewed several times. And it turns out he was doing something he does back home during the post-spawn period. And that bait was a tiny little 1/8 ounce buzzbait. And I'll tell you guys, after that, I came back home, I bought some 1/8 ounce buzzbaits and went out and just started using them. And I'll tell you, they are not, I don't even consider them a buzzbait. Like, when you go and you throw a buzzbait around, a lot of times you're looking at making noise. It's a fast, aggressive bait. You know, you're clanging it off wood, docks. You're just trying to agitate the fish into biting. You know, there's a lot of what, in my opinion, buzzbait fishing is. A little 1/8 ounce buzzbait like this is, I mean, it is as finesse as you can get when it comes to buzzbaits. This thing barely makes any noise at all. It's got a real fine little squeak. And it's just one of those baits that it triggers fish to bite, almost because I think it's so it's so natural and so unaggressive that the fish just want to go up and eat it. And it's a small bait. I mean, this bait, you know, this is a 3.3 swim bait on the back. This is I think this is a Kitech one, actually. You know, I throw either the two, I prefer the 2.8, to be honest with you. The 2.8 Kitech or the Berkeley Power Swimmer are my two go-to swim baits, and I prefer the Power Swimmer on the buzzbait because it's a little tougher material and it holds up significantly better on a buzzbait like this. But the blade is just a tiny little blade. You know, you bring it through the water and you really don't even get any major action to it. There's not much of a bubble trail. There's no sound, like I said. You just kind of see it coming across the surface. And those fish in the post-spawn period are up shallow. You know, a lot of times they're protecting fry. A lot of times they've just come off spawning. They're not in aggressive mood, but they'll come up and eat this, whereas they wouldn't come up and eat a full-size buzzbait or a bigger topwater, you know, or as in my case in that tournament, they wouldn't eat anything, but they would come up and eat this. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that, you know, other than what I've just said. One, during the post-spawn period, a lot of those fish are protecting fry or have just come off protecting fry. This little bait coming through the surface is something that agitates fry really well. So it works great if you're fishing around fry balling fish. But, you know, I just think in general those fish are, you know, they just spent a month kind of protecting their young. And they're still in that phase where they want to eat something, or they will eat something that is something that they consider to be a threat to their you know, young fish. And that's what this bait does. The other thing is it mimics a bluegill really well, almost to the point where like a bluegill's popping on the surface and feeding. I haven't put my finger on it yet, guys, but I can assure you that on those days when fishing is really tough and their fish are in that post-spawn funk, you gotta try a small buzzbait. This is my little secret little post-spawn bait that works so well. And it's all because I got a schooling from another professional angler who, you know, almost won that event doing it. And that was just such a perfect example because of how tough that fishing was, but how good it was for him. I mean, it was like he was on a different lake at the time. And I saw it firsthand. I mean, it still amazes me that this bait did that. But since then, I've come home and used it in so many of those periods, and it works so well when fishing is tough. You know, I'm not necessarily going to say you'll do what he did in that case, where, I mean, he just absolutely crushed them, but you will get bites from fish that you wouldn't have gotten bites from otherwise. And you'll be amazed at how big some of those fish are. Like, you'll get a lot of those big post-spawn females to come up and hit this. So, you know, I've got a little, I'll just show you what it looks like in the water and show you how uninvasive it is. There you have it, guys. A little 1/8 ounce buzzbait, little tiny 3.3 or 2.8 swim bait, your choice. I don't know what it is. This bait catches them in the post spawn when other baits will not. It is just a very unintimidating bait to the fish. I think it kind of reminds them of a bluegill, and gets strikes when other baits will not. Give it a try, a little 1/8 ounce buzzbait. But guys, get yourself some small buzz baits. This is the time of year to do it. Get out there and see what you can do with it. I'm telling you, you'll catch some fish. It's a killer little bait. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it on your social media pages. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow. We got another tip coming out.